Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Astrological Intentions. I am your host, along with the millionaire Melody herself, Sandy Reevy. Say hi.
I know why that is.
It is episode 240, February 27th. Let's get right into it. In the transits, Wednesday, March 1st, Venus conjunct Jupiter.
Popular positivity.
And Thursday, March 2nd, Mercury conjunct Saturn.
Wear your laurels.
And Mercury ingress Pisces.
Into detriment and fall.
Then Sandy has finished up 4 talismans that we want to discuss with you, as well as one upcoming to initiate carrying work with my partner. Also, a new talisman of the month we will announce as well. And on the horizon, we have the March forecast and cheat sheet ready and waiting for you, and the March 8th astrology webinar that you can join with a free Big Dipper trial. And in our house, I have a meditation for you, so join in on this Saturn and Pisces meditation. Stay tuned for this episode of Astrological Intentions.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you. Say you are the one you will answer to when this life is done. Don't waste a minute, jump in the river. Wash yourself clean so you can deliver you.
Hello, millionaire Melody.
I have found and discovered the title of the Bali retreat. Now it sounds like
it's kind of like the theme song.
Yeah, it's a theme song.
Right.
And I was so excited to present it to you in a format.
It is one of my favorites. So good choice.
So we're not going to tell anybody, but until you get to the opening ceremony of the Bali retreat.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go direct to all of our listeners. Thank you so much for joining in and listening to our craziness here on the podcast. I do want to share someone's message to us regarding the Mexico retreat.
Okay.
And this is from JW. She says, I attended the 2023 La Ventana Mexico retreat with 12 lovely ladies. Sandy Reevy designed and facilitated the retreat. This was my best vacation ever and life-changing for me. Sandy brought us all together, not knowing one another, and wow, I left with so much love and respect for each and every one of these ladies and even myself. I learned so much about myself throughout all of the learning and practices. This was the most awesome experience. Sandy is so gifted in astrology and bringing people together. The support and love I felt is indescribable. We had plenty of time each day to be alone if we desired, be with each other, and take in the glorious surroundings and weather. The venue itself is a paradise. Walking the beach every morning, taking in the sea and mountain views, feeling sunshine every day, beautiful grounds, infinity pool, hot tub. Need she say more? I had my own room and villa. It was bright and clean. We ate together for all 3 delicious vegetarian meals, also pescatarian. And the food presentation was so creative, healthy, tasty, and I always felt satisfied. I would give the whole retreat, drum roll please, 10 stars plus.
Really? Hey, JW, I know who you are. Wow. And this is not her first retreat with me.
Right.
And it's not her last, because at the airport, as we're leaving Mexico, we're at Cabo Airport, and she's like, "Okay, when's the next retreat?" And I was like, "Bali," and she's, "That's too far for me, but Greece." So she signed up for the Greece retreat.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so and that's what we're finding, right? It's which I love. I love seeing
familiar faces and people who are constantly coming back and learning more and more and building upon that and showing up and creating this amazing community of women who are empowered to learn more about themselves, to go for what they want. It's a really great community.
And to put it into practice. And I think that's why when they continue to show up year after year to these retreats, that they're powering up the their purpose that they learned the last time.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've got, one lady who signed up. She literally gave us her credit card and signed me up for everything you're doing this year.
Mm-hmm.
So Mexico, Bali, Greece, she's done one and heading to the next two.
Right.
There's 3 women that are coming to 2 of the retreats. And these people have been on retreats with me in the past. So it's really, and they get to see each other again,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not just
Right.
me.
Right.
And I feel that one portion is if you can find your people,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like I'm Love is Blind, on that show, where it's like, find your person, right?
Yeah.
But if you can find your people, and I don't say
Right.
it's just me, it's the group that accumulates.
Mm-hmm.
I wear a talisman that says I gather the perfect group for
Right.
this international quest. And I prefer international quests. We literally leave the mundane world of the United States and travel to other places. We see different foods, we taste different foods, different languages, different cultures.
It excites so much more than just
It enables us to see the wide, wonderful world.
right. And experience new cultures, new geography, new traditions, new people,
And see how far reaching that we are capable of going. Right. And we don't need to stay in our little bubble
I've
here.
flown
Yeah.
100% around the world.
Yeah.
A couple of times.
Yeah.
So it's great to know that even though the world seems so big, that when you do go to these different places and you have an open heart and you're willing to learn and be accepting, it's not as scary as people think.
Not at all.
Right. So,
Yeah.
okay, let's move
Thank you.
in.
Thank you,
Yes.
JW. That was so beautifully put and said that, I'm excited for everybody and anybody to join any of my retreats.
Right.
They're all seen as
Right.
equals.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All
Okay.
right, so let's move into the transits where we start the astrological transits with my birthday, Wednesday,
Ding.
March 1st, Venus conjunct Jupiter.
And you get this for your whole solar return year.
Woohoo!
Lovely. The Venus conjunct Jupiter, now that might sound familiar because these are the 2 benefics, are conjoining one another at 12 degrees of Aries.
Mm-hmm.
And, they share the desire to go get them. This is my popular positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Venus is popular. And Jupiter is that positivity.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they come together, there's like a no fear to take a risk, to feel supported and activating freedom, love, and spending some money.
Yep.
Spending some money. Which not only is this your birthday, and we birthday is when the sun comes back to the same place that the sun was at.
Right.
On your day
solar
of birth.
return. Mm-hmm.
Solar returns to itself. Sun comes back. However, the fact that this Venus conjunct Jupiter for you, Alex, is happening in Aries, it aligns with your natal Venus Jupiter in Aries.
Right. So I'm getting like a triple whammy. I'm getting a solar return, a Venus return, and a Jupiter return.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
simultaneously.
great.
It's
fabulous.
It's fabulous.
I'm so excited.
And so that makes me think, and this your 2 benefics, your 2 blessings in the 12th house is why, you are doing your meditations, and,
mm-hmm.
you have a meditation for us today on this podcast. And I just feel that, your ability to bring things into the outer world from behind, right? So it doesn't mean you're behind in, you're last. It doesn't mean that. It means just like that you're able to bring something forward through the veil.
Right.
Right.
And I think right now is a prime example of the way that your Mercury in Pisces works.
Yeah.
You kind of like throw in some words, and then I will come together and bring those words into concrete spaces of I bring ideas that are a little bit further out there, and I bring them into a grounded place or even a practical place for people to understand and consume and then utilize.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
And that's what I love
that.
about those meditations. So I'm excited to share this one because this one's a timely meditation where this is kind of going along with what is happening astrologically, so that, you know, if right now you're feeling these things, that's even just further connecting you to this astrological energy. So,
and I want to pause here too, because, you know, March 1st, you know, any first of every month is the, you know, astrology cheat sheet, you know, is available on Patreon, on our Patreon account.
right.
And this is just a really big month because we have 2 planets changing signs. And actually we have seven planets changing signs, which is a lot. But the 2 big ones are Saturn moving into Pisces, March 7th, and the Pluto moving into Aquarius toward the middle to the end of the month. And so this sets up a whole new shift, a massive new shift for us here in the world, and not just the United States, in the world. And I want to preference a little bit now as we prepare. I'm going to talk a lot more about this over, the next year, but particularly because we're introducing March 1st, you know, the first week, the first day
of the month.
of the month. And, you know, this Saturn into Pisces, he moves into where he's not in rulership for the last 5 years. He's been in rulership in Capricorn 2.5 years, and Aquarius 2.5 to 3 years. So he's now moving into Pisces, where he hasn't been since 1994. 1996. So that 2-year period. And, you know, who can remember what's happened during that time, right? It's like what happened in that. And just as you know, Nelson Mandela was elected president of South America.
Wow.
South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. South Africa. Windows 95 was released, the Oklahoma City federal building bombing, and then that whole O.J. Simpson trial. Was symptomatic, I guess.
And so
yeah.
For the people listening, remind us this transit that.
So Saturn is moving into Pisces, moving into the next sign of the zodiac, permanently in March, and will stay there for 2.5 to 3 years.
Okay.
So anybody having planets in Pisces, you and I do, well, you know, how are we going to border? It'll be easy. It'll help me with my Mercury in Pisces. You know, Saturn will say, get focused now. Let's not do the extra terrestrial, extraneous things off to the side. Let's stay more dedicated to your thought programming. And so anybody having that, and will get to be more defined and more focused, I believe.
So this is a preview. This is a preview for what's happening this month.
Right.
Okay.
And, you know, we're teaching that in the Bali retreat.
Correct.
Right. That's our main focus for how we bring our dreams into reality. Yeah.
So let's move on to the next transit, Thursday, March 2nd. We have 2. The first is Mercury conjunct Saturn.
So here, Saturn is he's at the very last degree of Aquarius. He hasn't moved yet. So that means he's still at 29 Aquarius, and Mercury is making a conjunction. So Mercury comes through, says, hey, Mercury is the planet of communication, knowledge, presentations, information. And conjunct Saturn is satisfying, established, hard work that's been done. And I called this Wear Your Laurels. And I want to sit here for a minute because, you know, Saturn is authority and Mercury is the voice. So be the voice of authority here. Rely on your past achievements, which equals victory. And if we think about wearing your laurels, right, we've heard that, you know, and what does that mean, right? And I have a little mythology story around that, but it really does mean, you know, it's like to wear that crown, that leaf crown. Like laurel is a bay leaf plant, very dark green, glossy leaves, foliage. Yeah, that was put into a wreath. And and worn as a victory on the victory lap or whatever on the
Fun,
podium.
yeah. It just reminds me
winner,
of like,
right?
yeah, Olympia or the Olympics.
And that's the crown leaf that Caesar wore. He always wore it in his statues. He had that laurel leaf there. So, and I want to talk about that victory, gaining something over a long period of time, because Saturn is about long periods of time. So I want to talk a little bit about the mythology of how that became, because, I love that mythology. And Apollo is the sun god. And Apollo, was after Daphne. And Daphne was this beautiful nymph who was sought after by Apollo, and she didn't want the amorous appeal of Apollo. So she's trying to escape him. And while she's escaping, she asks her father Zeus to help her with this, help her. He Apollo's trying to abduct me. Father Zeus, please help me. And in doing so, he heard her and he turned her into this tree.
Okay.
And so if you ever see in a statue or a vase or in a painting of something that there's this woman turning into a laurel tree. So she looks like her arms are up as branches and her feet are rooted into the ground. And he placed her leaves on his head, or Apollo placed her leaves on his head as a crowned wreath. To have her always with him. And so that was, he didn't get her, but he got something that of her, right?
Interesting.
So really interesting how that mythology she became a tree in order to escape his accosted. But now, as you mentioned, the Olympics, now the winners are awarded that of the Olympics, of whatever during the Olympian times, it was arts and writing competitions, because it is a representation of peace, honor, and victory. And it is also said to have the spiritual and physical cleansing. So just interesting, there's also something called the Pythian Games. It's very, very synonymous with the Olympian Games. But these Pythian Games were held at Delphi, and that's where one place we'll be visiting in our Part 1 Greek retreat. And that was held every 4 years. And so that has, we don't do the Pythian Games here in the world, but we do the Olympian Games, and that was held, and we still hold that ancient programming of 4 years. Right. That's been 3,000 years of doing it every 4 years.
Right.
Interesting, right?
Yeah, it's great.
So wear your laurels, right? Wear your past achievements on this wreath of your head. Claim victory and a voice of authority. I really like this. And for me, I just feel that this is really interesting. I like this aspect.
And laurels are that representation of achievement, that you've kind of gained something from a struggle, or, maybe possibly a resistance of some sort. And yeah, so I guess it is, to be proud of what you were able to overcome. I would venture to guess that this Apollo and Daphne saga was a little bit more visceral, or a little bit more dangerous, because it seemed like he was, trying to abduct her, and that gets dicey. That gets like a little bit unethical, I think, in that game of, which of course it's, the myths mirror human behavior. They're kind of a mirror into our internal selves and our internal struggles. But when it comes to something like, I have been working out every single day, and I've been really committing myself to something that I want that has that resistance, if there is like that, I'm just struggling up this hill to overcome either this weight loss goal that I have or this fitness goal that I have. And once you get to that point, yeah, wear the laurel, be proud of it. Don't continue this sense of where you were before at the bottom of the mountain. So
right, because to rest on one's laurels, right, to be content with one's past and present honors, to have the achievement. I just really like that depiction of, because, and if we bring up the Apollo Daphne again, it's like he didn't get her, right? She got a higher power and turned into a tree. So she was.
But it seems like she lost her life, right? Like she was turned into a tree, and really it sounds like, there was a way that Zeus kind of rescued her in that way. But it also seems like there was this malice intent that Apollo had of like, I must have her.
And being the sun god, because he was, he came out every morning with his 4 horses and went to the zenith at the top of the sky and then back down. And so he saw everything. And so when he picked someone, and, it's just interesting because, and I think that Daphne was also a priestess of Armistice, which is chaste, right? And so very often in mythology, subjects are turned into plants or animals. Yeah, to be turned into a tree is not.
Is it like a sense of immortality?
And put into the sky as constellations again is a sign of immortality. So, did she die, or she just became this beautiful representation of going after what it is you want and to achieve? Because what Apollo ended up doing is using her leaves to gain that he got to hug the tree, right? When we say tree huggers, I don't know that that's any combination, but, well, yeah. I laugh about that to think that, there's a stability in that. And we're using something that says that I've reached my goal, right, even though, it's a bark and some limbs.
He was barking up the wrong tree, apparently. Yeah. So, and I love that about myths because they are so debatable and relatable. There's so many different ways that we can slice it and dice it. So let's move on to the next transit. We have Mercury ingress Pisces.
Oh. So Mercury ingress Pisces, that means he's moving into the sign of Pisces, which is where my Mercury sits. So
you have a Mercury return now.
I'm having a Mercury return coming up, because Mercury's going through 3 weeks in Pisces and into his detriment. And I say him because it could be a her. Mercury, it has that hermaphrodite feeling of it can go to be a feminine or it could be a masculine, but goes into their fall or detriment. And so it's the only planet that moves into the only sign that has this inability to stay focused. So don't blame me. It's my Mercury, but my soul picked it. That has non-managerial placement. However,
right, because the fluidity of water and that idea of the mutability of Pisces is hard to keep into bounds.
And I just really like the fact that, because it's meeting up in my sign, that there is that other side of that. And had I known this when I was a younger student, when I thought I was dumb, right? Because I couldn't stay focused. People were telling me, the nuns would tell me to put an F on my forehead for focus.
Yeah, weird.
And I'm like, well, why would I put it on my forehead? I can't see it. You're the one that sees it on focus. But anyway, but here Mercury can be more mysterious, magical in the moments of thought. And if we use the word magical and we use the word imagination, I'm going to pull on that in our retreat. because of Pisces. And that's where, you know, the word MAG, Madge, the magi, the Madge, the magical, the imagination, you know, all these words have that, which has the power to do, right? So to feel beyond that. So, you know, that's where, now that I'm older, now that I recognize that I'm in the astrology world, in this world of describing spiritual, magical thoughts, where I don't know where they're coming from, right? So I go off on tangents, but every client that I talk to, I had really a big client this morning, and she's like, no, you're giving me so many nuggets of information, even though you're not staying on plan, because I had to come back to center. But I want to ask you to weirdly, I picked up the Republic, you know, which is one of Plato's most important books that he wrote. And, you know, he writes a lot about Socrates' conversations.
Okay.
And Socrates, you know, these are two great philosophers and wisdom keepers of thinking about that, what if kind of question, of that Piscean, you know, thoughts that we had, is always asking questions. And I want you to ask me to open, I've got the book right here. I want you to ask me to open the book somewhere and just start reading.
Do I just pick a page?
No, just ask me to open up a book.
Oh, open up the book. Would you, please?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So if I go to this page here, because it's hard to read, because it's hard to, well, I should say it's not hard to read. It's hard to understand.
Got it.
Because Socrates doesn't claim a statement. He's constantly in question.
Well, it seems probably philosophical, which
exactly,
yes, those thought processes are constructed that way to promote thought and discussion. So let's do it.
So you just asked me to open up a page, and I got to 120, and he's having this conversation. Well, most of this conversation is with his friend Telemachus, and Telemachus, they're talking about what thirst and drink means.
Okay.
And Socrates says, then the soul of the thirsty man, insofar as it is thirsty, wants only to drink, and longs and strives after this. Question mark, right? It's a question mark. And Telemachus says, obviously. And then he says, then Socrates says, then if there is anything which holds it back when it is thirsty, will it not be something in it distinct from that which thirsts, in which drives it like the beast to drink? For surely, as we said, the same thing does not at one in the same time with the same part of itself in the same relationship do opposite things.
Yeah, I felt pretty confident after that first sentence. I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense. And then the wheels kind of fell off. So,
and then the response to his friend is, no, certainly not. So his friend is giving him, and then he comes back. Just as I fancy it is incorrect to say of an archer that his hands are at one in the same time, drawing the bow towards him and thrusting it away. We ought rather to say that one hand is thrusting it away while the other drawing it towards him. And his friend says, assuredly. Now that we can say that people are sometimes thirsty and yet decline to drink. So these are the conversations. It's like he is imbuing thought for the conversation, for that other person to have the answer. And no answer is wrong.
Right. Or kind of like agree or disagree, which I think is a philosophical conversation in itself. But yeah, that is interesting because I do like that imagery of the bow, and, you know, at the same time that we look and we pull and we want these things, because it kind of just reminds me of, like bad habits, like we don't want them, yet they're so easy and we attract them to ourselves. But then we have a resistance because we know that they're bad for us. We don't really want them in our lives. So we're constantly pushing and pulling in that direction, and really only to maintain a homeostasis somewhere in the middle of those two.
But it's that left
evil,
or whatever arm that is holding steady to the proposed goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That backwards motion, you're not looking backwards. You're pulling back to get that resistance, but you're pointing and your eyes are focused on the bullet point or the bullseye,
mm-hmm.
right? So it's using this backward motion to create this forward motion.
Mm-hmm.
It's but you're doing two opposite things, but are they not the same? And he was just using his thirst and drink. Very similar. He goes on to say one more paragraph. Then what are we to say about them? I ask. And again, this is Socrates. Must we not say that there is that in their soul which orders them to drink, and that there is that which hinders him from drinking, the latter being distinct and the master of the former? So it's almost like you need conversation to decipher each one of these little sentences, like we're doing right now.
Right.
When I'm reading it, I'm like, just go on to the next line.
Decipher,
and then the
is
answer
a huge key here.
I certainly think so, right? So it's this, but he's proposing these things, like the something in the soul is ordering them to drink, but then what hinders them from drinking? It's kind of reminds you of, you can lead a horse to water,
mm-hmm.
but you can't make him drink,
mm-hmm.
right?
Wow.
So talk about philosophy. This is Mercury and Pisces moving into this placement of, I don't
mm-hmm.
understand. Well, what is it? Let's try and bring up thoughts that I have that are completely different than yours,
mm-hmm.
right? Let's question.
Right.
As a philosophical thought. Yeah.
Okay. Woo! So
anyway,
there we go. We only had 3 transits, yet I think that might have been one of our longest discussions. So let's move on to talisman times, where we have finished up. You have finished up 4 talismans. We'll briefly run through these. To take on an ambitious role.
I know and feel the incredible impact I have in the public arena. It is known that I come from a loving place of integrity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the moon in Pisces making a conjunction to Venus at the top of the chart.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. And next, to partner with a fortunate ally.
I'm blessed with abundance, cheerfulness, and enthusiasm. When in cooperation with my companion, we get busy. Again, that moon is in the 7th house, making an aspect. Moon is in Pisces, making an aspect to in a conjunction with Venus and Jupiter. So this is about partnering with fortunate people.
And to be the center of attention.
I am noticed as I walk about. I possess generosity and sweetness that I willingly grant on others. We connect. And this is a rare one. This is the moon is in Cancer, where the moon, where she rules. This is a new moon, and the moon is enclosed by the benefics. And so this is about being the center, to be noticed, that you're walking on one in the middle of Venus and Jupiter, the only 2 benefics in the sky.
Mm-hmm. And the last finished talisman, to acquire safe travel.
All parts of my movement as I take action are protected. This includes my physical and emotional self. I'm flying high. This one, pick up, because, I say I'll pick up all the talismans.
Mm-hmm.
But, when we are looking, I get multiple requests for safe travel, for safety and protection along my path as I move about the world. Mm-hmm. And this is the moon conjuncting the ascendant and the 3rd lunar mansion, which is all about safe travel, all things good, and protection.
Right. Okay, and then the upcoming talisman, Tuesday, February 28th, to initiate career work with my partner.
We are seen as the blessed duo. I take part in this partnership with growth, grace, and dedication. We meet in the middle as balanced human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the moon in Cancer. Moon is, in her place of domicile.
Her happy place.
Her happy place, and making an aspect to the Venus and Jupiter that are conjoined. So, yeah.
And so that talisman is on pre-sale. So if you are interested and it's before February 28th,
be part of it.
Yeah, you can email out to us, get a hold of that talisman in pre-sale, and then you get to help direct the style and colors. So it is the closest thing to a personal intention bracelet.
Yes.
So let's move on to the talisman of the month. We are making an announcement for this March talisman to make a positive influence on others. And the affirmation is, my ability to reward people in my tribe comes through as a noble gesture. I graciously nourish and permit them to grow. Beautiful power for all of us. This is on special for a $222 price. You also get a shipping credit on top of that as soon as you add it to the cart. So click on that show link in the description and check it out.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to the horizon. February 25th, that's this Saturday, we have our March forecast and cheat sheet. This is when Sandy and Susan come together, give you all of the dates for the month, as well as give it to you in PDF form as well, that you can just keep it by your desk, keep it somewhere on the refrigerator or somewhere where you're going to be looking at it and noticing what is going on astrologically. You can watch live with a free Big Dipper trial, and you just head over to patreon.com/chattingwiththestars, where you get a 7-day free trial just to see if you like it. So this is a great opportunity. That Big Dipper, you get so many perks with it. You get to, at the end of all of the forecasts, you can have questions that you pose to Sandy and Susan, and you get early access to tons of other things, including the PDF, including the forecast, the astrology webinars. You get the entire astrology library that is being compiled right now over on Patreon. So we would love to have you there. Join us. Also, March 8th, we have an astrology webinar. This is a CWS webinar with Sandy and Susan, all about Saturn in Pisces and Pluto in Aquarius. Again, join that free Big Dipper trial and you will have access to this astrology webinar, and it's live recording. So that is pretty much all the on the horizon points that I want to make, aside from the 2 retreats, the 2023 Bali retreat and the 2023 Greece retreat. If you do have any questions for us, email us or book a free 15-minute reading to ask Sandy specific questions and figure out if this is the right fit for you. Let's move into our house, where I have a meditation for you all about this transit we've been discussing, which is Saturn in Pisces. This is an active meditation, and we will begin in a standing, seated, or supine position. So if you're not there already, get yourself into position with your back straight and your eyes open or closed, your choice. Let's begin. Whether you're standing, sitting, or laying comfortably, keep your feet shoulder width apart and your arms loose by your sides. Begin with a few deep breaths, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Now, begin this activation by starting to shake your body gently, from your feet up to your head. Shake your legs, your hips, your arms, shoulders, allowing your body to loosen up and release any tension or stiffness. Shake your hands and fingers and let your head and neck move freely. As you shake your body, focus on your breath, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly. Imagine each breath filling you with fresh energy and vitality, and each exhale releasing stress, tension, and negativity. Begin slowing down your movements and bring your body back to stillness. As you arrive here, take a few more breaths, deep breaths, feeling the energy and the relaxation flowing through your body. And in the second half of this meditation, we'll begin by creating a picture in your mind, imagining the day ahead. Where are you? What are you doing? What have you been planning? Perhaps you're at work, talking to your partner, taking care of the kids, exercising. For the sake of Saturn, choose your most mundane or challenging task and take a few moments to imagine this scene around you. Picture all the details and take it in with all your senses. Are you alone or with others? What is the task at hand? Explore this scene further. Now, as you may know, your mind is a powerful tool. The way you practice this scene in your head or anticipate it throughout your body has everything to do with how you approach it and ultimately execute it. Take into account how your body and mind are reacting to this scenario in front of you. Are you calm, flustered, excited, or nervous? Do you feel tightness anywhere in your body? Your forehead, chest, or back? Take all this information just as it is, information. Reflecting on this current scenario and your approach to it, I want to ask you, would you change anything about this day ahead? Would you want to be more cognizant of your expression, whether through your communication, verbal or physical? Take more time as you explore this. Would you pay more attention to the person in front of you, or more focus towards the task at hand? Now, the rest of your day is when you can rewrite how you'd like this daily task or situation to go, and not only visualize the reality, but behave in that way with that same intention. We may not be able to control everything throughout our day, but remember that what you can control is how you show up and respond. And that is your ultimate power. Begin returning your awareness to your surroundings and realize you are here at the start of your day, before your day has begun, or any situations can overpower your intentions. Now is the time to begin creating this dream you have for your day. However slight, however big, know that you have the ability to create it. Now let your muscles reawaken by opening and closing your hands, shrugging or shaking your shoulders like before, and moving around. Keep with you this feeling of intentionality and responsibility you have while you were visioning. And thank you for taking a moment to imagine your day ahead. Initiating your intention ahead of time, just as we did, helps you to plan your behaviors throughout the day, influencing the actual experience. The more you practice bringing your inner authority to your day, the more you're developing the capacity for creating the life you intend. I welcome you to use this meditation when you need to break out of a rut or create intentional change in your daily life. I'll see you back here at Astrology Meditation soon. Well, thank you everybody for joining us again for another Astrological Intention podcast. Remember to share this podcast with whomever you feel would benefit or enjoy it, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you. Say you are the one you will answer to when this life is done. Don't waste a minute, jump in the river, wash yourself clean so you can deliver you. The soul